Good morning, guys. Welcome back to Aksharadari. I'm Deviraj. Today is 8th December 2023. I hope you guys are learning great and earning great and also following the tips which I have given in the previous videos and also working towards to improve our communication. So before going to start the newspaper reading, I would request you guys to please subscribe the channel, like and comment. If you like the video, please share it with your friends. It may be useful for somebody to utilize the opportunities from the Akshardhare and the team. So anyhow, let's start reading the newspaper or the Hindu, which is very important for the competitive exams. Let's start reading the newspaper. The front page. Alice to take up a report on Maua expulsion. Textile industry in distress. Republicans stall war aid for Israel Ukraine. A vote against Bagil's poor performance. Villa stuns Man City, moves to third spot. Revant sworn in as Telangana CM. He signs file to implement Congress polls guarantees. Extends invitation to people to attend today's Praja Darbar and present their grievances. SE2 Center give info on inflow of illegal migrants. Center announces 1,500 crore aid to Tamil Nadu and AP after cyclone wreaks havoc. Manchester, Dublin, Munich, Brussels, Stockholm, and more. Saxena recalls files from Law Minister's office citing delays. LG charges Law Minister with inordinate delay in clearing files related to judicial matters. AAP government says it created several court complexes in cities, spent 1,528 on court infrastructure in 2022-23. AAP presents a Kejriwal model of governance at COP28. Girl attacked with acid after her mother refuses to take back rape case. Atishi pulls up DJB officials for overflowing CBS. Danger to all parties. HG bans walkathon at wildlife sanctuary. Man arrested for mowing down senior citizen in Greater Kailash. Man who reported a robbery dies inside police station. BJP's CM picks for three states will be pointer to shape up its politics ahead. Congress MLA keeps poll promise in MP Bam blackens face. Karni Sena activist protest in Indore against chief's murder. Headmaster dies in UP's Sultanpur case against BU. Nawab Malik creates a stir between BJP Ajit Pawar with first house appearance. Centre approved board praising Tagore put Hapat as Santiniketan to mark UNESCO World Heritage Tag. Election results as signal ouster of incumbent government circulation. Steered by BJP's Hindi heartland wins, Biju Janata Dal starts fortifying its base in Odisha. Kerala police arrest medical student for death of classmate. Hatti community announces protest on December 16. Develop courage to reject dowry seekers, Pinrai tells women. Uttarakhand and the rise, a land of peace, potential, and prosperity. Barricades near Telangana CM's camp up is torn down. Telangana CM renamed Pragati Bhavan to Jyotirao Pule Braja Bhavan. The barricades had barred pedestrians from using the footpath and forced them to walk along with the moving traffic. Alliance passes bill to establish a central tribal university in Telangana. UP government's probe into madrasas is an intimidation tactic. Cardinal Alancheri steps down as church head. UGC notes soon for short-term courses. Actor Azad case SC orders inquiry into memory card issue. Reservation policy need not be followed. Merit must be sole criterion for appointment of law officers. HC. Statue of NTR vandalized at village in AP. One more booked in Nizamabad for FPFI case. The 43 places in the four Tamil Nadu districts continue to be waterlogged government. Will push for democratic solutions, says Mehbooba. Crime scene do not cross police. Death in a flour mill. A 40-year-old Dalit woman's body was found dismembered on the floor of an atta chakki in a village in Banda, Uttar Pradesh. The family alleges gang rape and murder by upper caste men, but the police claim it was an accident. Finds Samriddhi Tiwari. How long do we have to live like this? In complete fear of these men, at some point we will have to get out and walk in front of them. A celebration of all things comic. The annual extravaganza Comic Con returns to the Delhi this weekend with the promise of an immersive experience. Walk in the clouds, a good guide, favorable weather, and dependable equipment make the recipe for your next perfect winter trek that goes beyond just physical fitness. Symphonia feeling. A Delhi artist Rohan Solomon's newest album, Strung Out to Dry, is a musical treat with an important social message. Message of a love cast in stone. The fifth edition of Sky Ice Sculpt opens at ICC today as a tribute to eminent scholar and art critic Keshav Malik on his birth anniversary centenary. India's growing neighborhood dilemmas. So let's read this editorial page. The proverbial chill seal of Indian point policy has an ambitious vision from being the leader of the global south to be an arbiter in global geopolitical contestations to making a serious climb to be a pole in a world politics. But South Asia is not only not keen to jump on the bandwagon of the India story, but it is solely sole seemingly holding India back, albeit indirectly. Neighborhoods are difficult for any major power, but contemporary India is faced with an exceptionally hard one, complicated by a rising superpower in its neighborhood for the first time in its history. In New Delhi's dilemmas, the causes. In general, there are three types of dilemmas that India faces in the neighborhood. One, the rise of politically anti-India regimes in South Asia, such as the one in the Maldives, where the new government is effectively asking Indians to pack up and leave. While the Maldives is anti-India in an instrumental sense, a Khaled Hajia-led government in Dhaka, which goes to the elections early next year, could turn out to be ideologically anti-India. The second type of dilemma India faces in the neighborhood is structural, resulting from Beijing's growing influence in South Asia. Three things stand out: the growing entanglement of the region's smaller states in the Belt and Road Initiative and the other Chinese projects. Beijing's assiduous outreach to South Asian states when the rest of the international community abandons or avoids them for normative or other reasons. As was the case with the Taliban led Afghanistan, military ruled Myanmar and crisis hit Sri Lanka. India does too, but the overall impact of China's outreach is far higher than that of India, primarily as a function of deeper pockets. Finally, China's desire to settle border disputes with its neighbors, minus India, as seen in the case of Bhutan, is also a strategy to win over the region. The net result are one that could potentially develop over time is somewhat alarming. If we do not take innovative measures, there is a good chance that we will be geopolitically locked in within an unfriendly South Asia. This may be will be case of overstating the point, but is to lay emphasis on a potential future scenario. There are three broad sets of causes behind the dilemmas India faces in the neighborhood. The first is the regional geopolitical architecture characterized by five overlapping elements. Contemporary South Asia is characterized by a diminishing presence of the United States, which for a long time was a geopolitical constant in the region. For New Delhi, Washington's presence in South Asia was not always advantageous, but its departure is definitely disadvantageous. In particular, given how China has filled the power vacuum created by Washington's departure, the aggressive and stupendous rise of China has come as a geopolitical buffer, at least for now, for the smaller states in the region, which have become adapted at using the China card in their foreign policy assertions. While our neighbors are keen to practice strategic autonomy with us, there is little appetite to do so with our China. Third, in one of the least interconnected regions in the world, Nanpu, it is natural that the inhabitants of the region will tilt towards a power with the ability to cater to their material needs, with India's ability to meet those needs being limited. China is that power. Both India, for the most part, has had a normative and political approach towards the region, with the states in the region are facing, rebelling, and falling in line given the absence of choices. Beijing has changed that India's centric calculus by offering itself as the no Prill's non-normative alternative. For the first time in modern South Asian history, the region is an arms-free zone, finally for much of its independent existence. Now Delhi ensured unrivaled primacy in the region. Today, the downside of being the resident of power in South Asia, with all its attendant cultural, ethnic, refugee, and other spillovers, is felt more sharply than being the primary power. China, on the other hand, is the region's non-resident poor, which benefits from the absence of complications, ethnic, linguistic, religious, arising out of being a resident poor. The second cause behind India's regional dilemma is related to its policy stance, which exhibits a deep-seated status quo bias when it comes to dealing with the region's domestic politics and the multiplicity of actors or power centers then. Dealing only with, for the most part, those in power in the regional capitals, elected or otherwise, is perhaps the right thing to do as well as less risky. However, such a one-track policy generates a path dependencies, often alienating other centers of power or opposition leaders. Bangladesh is perhaps one such example. Furthermore, India's dilemma are also caused by two mistaken assumptions that we have long had. For one, there has for some time been a strong belief in India's idea that South Asia minus Pakistan would be amenable to Indian geopolitical reasoning, which prompted an attempt to deal proactively with South Asia without Pakistan. However, in retrospect, one has to admit that this policy has not exactly panned out the way India imagined. The second mistaken assumption that in New Delhi approached the neighborhood with was that India's special relationship with the region rooted in culture. soft power, history, and ethnicity would help the country deal with the neighborhood better than those without intimate knowledge of the region, namely China. As India's cultural connect with its neighbors indeed become a liability in the conduct of foreign policy towards them. What can be done? To begin with, it is time India made a mental switch and acknowledged that South Asia and its balance of power have changed fundamentally. Old South Asia, where India ensured primacy, no longer exists. South Asia, which has pretty much replaced South Asia as a space where China has emerged as a serious contender for regional primacy. India's neighbors and periphery are China's too. Even if we do not like it, such a realistic and pragmatic framing would help India deal with the reality as it is rather than working with the mental frame of Indian primacy, which is long gone. Second, New Delhi must proactively pursue the involvement of friendly external actors in the region. That is the only way to deal with the impending possibility of the region becoming a Sino center. Third, Indian diplomacy must be flexible enough to engage multiple actors in each of the neighboring countries. The heart of diplomacy is not about hating the anti India elements in the neighborhood, but instead lessening their anti-India attitude. In a similar vein, dealing with whoever is in power is a good policy, but engaging only those in power is bad policy. Finally, here is the highlighting of an issue that has been spoken of a ad nauseam. India needs more hands for its diplomatic pursuits. The glaring shortage of sufficient diplomats to implement the foreign policy of a country of 1.4 billion people will prove to be India's single most crucial challenge going forward. The more India's role in world affairs grows, the more the shortage of personnel will be felt by us and others. If the current state of affairs continues, there will be no one to show up with the Indian flag when opportunities beckon or emerge. Crisis emerge. Problematizing periodization in history. Problematizing a periodization in history. Let's read this editorial page written by the history taught. The all too familiar triad of historical periodization, ancient, medieval, modern, now universal as rather specific provincial and temporal origins. All societies evolved their own modes of dividing their history into periods. Dynastic and regnal was the one prevalent in India. Iran had the Turco-Mongol regions. Besides Europe, the creation of eras such as Vikrami, Shaka, and Ilahi are the era of piety in Islamic, coinciding with the Prophet and the first four caliphs, and the steady decline afterwards were among many other moods. A European trad. A trad took birth in Europe around the 16th to 17th centuries, first in the history of archaeology and steadily in society's history, finding its largely evolved form in 1688 at the hands of Cellarius, a German. This was the era when, over the first few centuries, Europe had been creating its new self-image of rationality, seeing science and progress in short modernity to reinforce it, the inverse image of its immediate past. The medieval was also created as one of rationality, regression, and superstition, which was constituted as the synonym of religiosity. In short, the Dark Age from which Europe was progressing into enlightenment. With the expansion of Europe to the rest of the world during the 18th to 20th centuries, besides its trade, arms, and politics, its intellectual concepts also found entry into what were becoming its colonies. The indigenous notions of historical time and space were replaced by the European triad through what Jack Goody calls the theft of history is an unequal power relationships. Thus, The dark age of Job was transferred to the rest of the world, from which Job was must rescued by bringing it to it enlightenment through colonialism, a very rational legitimation of colonialism. The trad first came to India with a further distortion. Whereas in Europe, its premise was the retreat of backwardness in the face of progress. James Mill introduced it as the Hindu, the Muslim, and the British periods, underlining the legitimation of modern British rule, which would rescue India from the dark age of medieval Muslim rule. Periodization is riven with problems. Being a human construct rather than a ground reality, it is by its nature transient. Some signs of its as trans signs have already appeared, with several qualifications getting attached to it. Late antiquity, early medieval, late medieval, and early modern. What shape the transience is going to take in the near or distant future is hard to predict. One wonders if our modern period will still be considered modern in the 22nd or the 23rd century. For sure, there is a great regional variance in the application of trade in the regions around the world, with China taking its medieval into several centuries BC, and some, such as India, drawing the 18th century CE into it. Indeed, some powerful voices such as Jacques Lee Cobbs have questioned the very notion of dividing history into trenches. On the other hand, the notion of periodization is premised on the very trenches, once characterized as stages of development, each self-contained and autonomous in a sequence of succession, indicating irreversible change or progression from the preceding stage. Change and continuity are envisaged here a dichotomous. Are they really? Historians have got round to witnessing much continuity in what is seen as change and change in continuity. The idea of stages of development has quietly disappeared from their origin. The notion of modernity. At the heart of periodization lies the notion of modernity, for the triad originated from the modern and traveled back to the medieval and the ancient. It thus created the image of history of a travel back from the present to the past instead of the other way round. It vested modernity with the attributes of what it saw as developments in Europe from the 17th, 18th centuries onward. Once we have recounted above and much else besides, from where the rest of the world was obligated to emulate them mostly by force. The modern world that we inhabit was thus essentially the West's creation. This perception has held unquestioned as a sway for over a couple of centuries everywhere. It is only in the past 3 or 4 decades that the weave has come under sharp scrutiny in the West as elsewhere. Today, it has become hard to speak of modernity in the singular. Modernity has far greater space in the academic discourse. Modernity that had for long been accepted as an objective reality out there in Chris Gabriel's words has become a subjective in each way and context. Implied in this transformation is the premise that the modern world that we inhabit and its modernity are not the gift of any one region of the globe, and any single segment of humanity are not confined to a given time bracket, but rather than cumulative outcome of contributions of all societies and civilizations throughout the period of history known to us, whether in terms of material objects such as crops, material metals, or technologies, or ideas and concepts such as piece of philosophy, sciences, religions, the fine arts, literature, economic systems, and state systems. All civilizations have at different times added to humanity multifaceted capital to give us the words what we live in. This calls for the treatment of history as a universal entity of which regions form constituents. A call made by several times by historians in the past. It also implies history to be a continual process rather than an aggregate of disparate tranches. The transience of the notion of periodization is likely to become increasingly manifest as history embarks on exploring areas of research such as climate, and planetary history, and even what is increasingly being questioned as prehistory and to an extent archaeology. These are far less susceptible to getting tied up in temporal boxes than the history that is still the predominant norm. The question also is how long will this remain the predominant norm? In Chhattisgarh, lack of jobs, price rise, and corruption bring down Congress government. Also, the BJP's campaign appears to have swung the tide in its favor, as close to half the voters decided who to vote for during the campaign and the last day of voting. The methodology used unemployment a big challenge. The BJP's strong voter base, note and weight application and data, text and context page, and the finance package secured by Pakistan from ADB. The number of air passengers currently as per the government. The Indian fisherman arrested from Sri Lankan waters. The number of crorepati lawmakers in Madhya Pradesh. The Indian house tourists to be welcomed to Saudi Arabia by 2030. Regulating deepfakes and AI in India. Why are deepfakes dangerous? How are deepfakes being used to spread in misinformation in political campaigns? What are the international best practices? What should be the regulatory response according to experts? The shock therapy of Sandeep Reddy Vanga's latest film Animal. Across human culture, from film to poetry, there have always been those who have offended popular sensibilities. However, of any piece of volatile thought, we must ask what is revolutionary about it? What complex social order does it upend? What formula or aesthetic ground does it break? American singer and songwriter Taylor Swift was named Times Person of the Year. He is a quiz and the Grammy Award winner and other songs. Revan sworn as Telangana CM from development to defamation. And the election campaign in Chhattisgarh. The Congress campaign rested on the Bhupesh Baghel government's performance in terms of development work and welfare schemes and the promise of conducting caste census in the state. The BJP's campaign, on the other hand, was centered around Prime Minister Narendra Modi's image. Corruption, BJP's winning narrative. Tribal identity push failed to help Congress. Empowered women. BJP is the preferred party of governance. PM tells party MPs. BJP asks Sir Revant to apologize for BR remark. Vice President expresses argues over his viral video. Alleged to take half ethics panel report recommending Mao's expulsion. No consensus on setting up a judicial service government. Shah responsible for present situation in J&K, Lalu Prasad. SC to give Article 370 verdict on Monday. Portfolios are shepherd and minister's resignation. SC asks Centre to give details of inflow of illegal migrants. The bench was hearing a series of petitions by indigenous Assamese groups challenging Section 6A of the Citizenship Act 1955. The court ordered the Home Ministry to file an update before Monday, says not everyone can settle in India. India is one entity. People from one state can say that our culture is being affected because of influx from another state. AIMS cases, AIMS cases have no link to China pneumonia outbreak. 63% who cleared UPSC exam were engineering graduates. Indian ambassador granted consular access to the death row prisoners in Qatar. SC makes video on Keshwananda Bhati judgment available. Former body issues alert on a painkiller mefenamic acid. Airlines providing travel at a reasonable cost, says India. NIA attaches property of two key Lashkar-e-Taiba operatives in Kashmir. US shared evidence on Pannam issue. Canada did not. Jaishankar. No specific evidence or inputs were provided to us. So the question of equitable treatment to the two countries, one who has provided us inputs and one who has not, does not arise. No time to waste on wild accusations, says SCBA. Textile industry crisis looms and large as demand it's a low. Royal Enfield enters pre-owned motorcycle business segment. RBI cancels license of UP's Urban Cooperative Bank Limited. IDFC Bank introduces a UPI based digital credit card. Center directs sugar mills distilleries not to use cane juice syrup to make ethanol. RBS MPs may reject growth and inflation math. NATCO shuts a Chennai unit temporarily after cyclone. And TNPL to raise caustic soda production. Poet Benjamin Jepania, who turned down Qun's honor, dies. Azerbaijan leader calls snap presidential vote for February 7. Cash strapped Pakistan secures $658 million package from ADB. Chinese Navy ships become first to dock at a new Cambodian base. Israel fights its Hamas militants in Gaza's second largest city. Republicans stall a hate for Israel. Ukraine Biden calls its greatest gift for Putin. Sunak Khan shaky political ground depends new Rwanda deportation bill. EU tells China differences must be addressed. Italy pulls out of BRI fact. England levels series. Kartikeya and Malvika advance in Super 100. Ruling dynasty primed to rule in the Chhatrapati plate. David too washed out without a ball being bowed in Dhaka. Shemi among nominees for Player of Month award for November. Bini to add BCCI's Women's Premier League Committee. Pink Panthers Warriors in the first in past tie of the reason. Parades shocked giants. Relentless Villa extends streak with a crucial win over Man City. Srevic won stars for Proec Tigers. Delhi women register an exciting win. Advanced Sunbirds fly into semi-final despite losing to Sada. Advani Chawla and Mehta ease into the round of 32. Bindra lands clarity on his role as mentor. Virat is the best batter in the world and always is great for the game. Veteran South African cricketer and administrator Ali Bachcha says the long Indian tour will be great for the public and his country. Faced with the current crop of fast bowlers. The visitors have the best chance of winning the test series for the first time. Improved drug regimes for TB are likely to reduce treatment time. Treatment regimes are hard. For MDR TB, patients might require up to 14,000 pills. The long duration of treatment and subsequent drug toxicity leads to patients being unable to tolerate the drugs and also non-compliance with their treatment schedules. This untimely leads to drug-resistant TB. 6% of cup syrup samples fail export quality test. Says central government said in a parliament that the WHO had issued a medical product alert for a batch of geopenicillin syrup manufactured by an Indian company, preparing for health emergencies after flooding. This is the last page, guys. Continue reading for 2 hours to make you better in communication, and also it will really make you very fluent in English, in English language, in English communication. So I hope you guys have enjoyed the newspaper reading. And if you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please subscribe the channel, like and comment. If you like the video, please share it with your friends. It may be useful for somebody to utilize the opportunities from the Aksharadhara and the team. I hope it will be very useful for everyone. If you guys have any doubts or comments, you guys can leave the comment in the comment box. So I'm very happy to resolve your doubts. See you in the upcoming videos, guys. Have a great day. Bye bye. Take care.